Welcome to Michael Potts F1, everything Formula 1, but from a photographer's point of view. This is Shanghai, and this is my A to Z guide to the Chinese Grand Prix. The Shanghai race is back on the calendar. This video will tell you everything you need to know about the Chinese Grand Prix. The first event was held here in 2004 on a Hermann Tilke design track in the Jiading district north of the city. It was built at a cost of $450 million, converting rice paddy fields into the state-of-the-art circuit. It took around 3,000 people 18 months to build the circuit and the facilities. At the time, it was the most expensive Formula 1 circuit ever. It would go on to be beaten in 2009 by Abu Dhabi's $6 billion Yas Marina complex. The track is 5.451 kilometers long. That places it somewhere between the Circuit of the Americas and Bahrain in terms of length. This will be a 56-lap event, which will rack up 305 kilometers. To date, there have been 16 races in Shanghai. Lewis Hamilton has won 6 of them, the most by any driver. The lap record is held by Michael Schumacher, where he set a time of 1 minute 32.238 in 2004. We should see cars hitting speeds of over 320 kilometers an hour, which is faster than the city's famous maglev train, which normally runs at 301 kilometers. The train can actually hit speeds of over 450, but they don't do that when it's transporting commuter passengers. The inspiration for the layout comes from the Chinese letter Xiang, which means on top or move up. It's a bit of an atypical circuit, which provides some very complex engineering challenges. It has very long duration corners in turns 1, 2, 3 and 4, which need a lot of downforce, and they punish the front left tyre considerably. Then, by contrast, there are 2 massive straights, one being 1.2 kilometers long, and here you need as little downforce as possible. So it's very difficult for teams to find a compromise between these 2 requirements. There are also going to be some practical challenges to the race in 2024. This is our first visit to Shanghai since 2019. That was the 1000th race. Now, 105 races later, a lot has changed. Back then, Mercedes were dominant, Ferrari were the challengers, and Daniel Ricciardo was driving a Renault. 4 drivers will be racing here for the first time. Zhou Guanyu, the first Chinese driver to race in his home Grand Prix. He's actually from Shanghai. We have Oscar Piastri, Logan Sargent, and Yuki Tsunoda all making their debuts. Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon also didn't race in the 2019 race, but have raced here previously. The current ground effect cars have never raced here, so the teams don't know what it's going to be like. What will they be like going into the first corner sequence? And will we see porpoising on the long straights? The track is very green because there hasn't been much racing here. There will only be 2 support races during the race weekend, the Chinese F4s and the Porsche Carrera Cup Asia. So this means there's not going to be a lot of rubber put down through the course of the weekend. You should see the track evolving from the first practice session to the race. That's unless all of that rubber doesn't get washed away by the rain. And there's a lot of it predicted for Saturday and Sunday. To add to the uncertainty, this is also going to be the first sprint race of the season. This means that teams will only have 1 practice session on Friday morning to get everything set up for the race. There has been a tweak to the sprint format this year. On Friday afternoon, we'll have the qualifying for the sprint race. Last year, this session was qualifying for the race, and this new format I think makes a lot more sense. The sprint race will take place on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. That's 4 a.m. if you're in London, or 8 p.m. if you're in Los Angeles. Race qualifying takes place on Saturday afternoon, and is in line with non-sprint races. And the full race is obviously as normal on Sunday. The good news for the teams is that they can make adjustments to the car after the sprint race and before qualifying. So you could see them trying different options in the sprint to maximize potential in the race. Teams are expected to favor a 2-stop strategy. This is because the track does produce a high amount of tire wear, especially on the front left tire. Remember, all of the tire data we have comes from 2019, and that was very different rubber. So how do the teams prepare for a weekend like this when there's so much unknown? Well, they have very sophisticated simulation tools, which help them develop a good baseline strategy for setup. If their initial calculations are out, it could be a very painful weekend. There had been a previous attempt to host a Grand Prix in China. In 1999, the Zhuhai International Circuit in Guangdong Province was added to the calendar, but the track failed to meet FIA standards, so was cancelled. In 2024, the first Chinese Grand Prix was successfully held in Shanghai on the 26th of September. It was won by Brazilian Rubens Barrichello driving a Ferrari. There have been some classic races at this track. In 2006, Michael Schumacher came from 6th place to win a very dramatic Grand Prix in mixed conditions. The win gave him the lead of the championship, but unfortunately, it was his last ever victory in Formula 1. The 2007 race cost Lewis Hamilton his first championship. It was the penultimate race of that season. He was 12 points ahead of his nearest rival going into the race. He had secured pole position, he was leading, but the team tried to keep him out too long on very worn out tyres. And when he finally came into the pits, he had no control of the car. He slid off the track, beaching himself in the gravel, ending his race. This gave Kimi Räikkönen the faintest of openings. He would go on to win the final race and claim Ferrari's last driver's title by 1 point. 2009 saw Red Bull Racing's first pole, first win, and first 1-2. Currently, they've achieved 99 pole positions and will definitely be aiming for the 100th this weekend at the track where it all started. 2019 was Formula One's 1000th Grand Prix, and it was my first Chinese Grand Prix. This race was 69 years after the first championship race in Silverstone in 1950. Bottas was leading the championship at that stage. He had pole position, but Lewis Hamilton overtook him in the first lap. Somehow, I managed to make it from the grid to turn 6 to shoot the start, and I got the shot of Daniel Kvyat launching Lando Norris into the air with the Emirates Fly Better billboards in the background. This was my top shot on Instagram. I doubt I'm going to try and shoot that corner again this year for the start because it was a very, very long run. The Chinese Grand Prix is a great race to attend. It's one of the most cost-effective on the calendar. I must point out that in 2024, all tickets are completely sold out. Every last ticket is gone. But you can put your name down and pay a deposit for next year's race. $500 for a grandstand ticket deposit and $1,000 for a hospitality deposit. 2025 tickets haven't been released at the time of this recording, but to give you an idea, if you had acted earlier, this is what you would have expected to pay in 2024. A general admission 3-day pass would cost you around $65, which is considerably less than any other venue. A seat in Grandstand H or K, these are the seats either side of the hairpin, with the famous lily pad coverings, and they're great seats where you'll see a lot of overtaking. This would have been $205. Again, a fantastic deal. The 3-day Paddock Club package, which includes the usual amazing food, drinks, activities such as pit lane walks or truck tours, will cost you around $6,200 per person. And again, this is a lot less than similar packages at other venues. I did say that this year was a sellout, and you might be surprised to see some empty grandstands despite there being such high demand. The organisers have built a new grandstand, which although was complete in time, wasn't certified for this race. So next year, there will be a lot more ticket options available, and the grandstand at Turn 1 does look like a cracking place to watch the race from. Another great thing about this race is that the track is on the metro line, and this is by far the best way of getting to the race. The metro stop is literally right outside the main entrance, and the Shanghai Metro is very efficient and cost effective. Here you are looking for the number 14 metro line. For those driving to the track, there is a lot of parking available, and Shanghai is a major international air hub. There are direct flights from pretty much every major city. Flying into Pudong International means that you can ride the famous maglev train. It's the fastest train in the world. But do check your visa requirements for visiting China. The government has recently changed the rules, allowing more countries visa-free access. Dutch Max Verstappen fans, this one is for you. In terms of accommodation, Shanghai is massive and it has something available for everyone's budget. I would suggest finding somewhere on the number 14 line. The best price I could find on booking.com for 3 nights over the race weekend was $45 for a bed in a 6-person dorm. That means that your race ticket, your accommodation and transport for a Formula 1 race could be as low as $120. If sharing a room with your 5 newest best friends isn't your idea of Formula 1 glamour, there is the Shanghai Edition Penthouse Suite, which will cost you nearly $50,000 for 3 nights for 2 people. Here you'll have a glorious hot tub with magnificent views of the city. It also includes a living room, a kitchen, a bedroom, soundproof walls, and most importantly, tea and coffee making facilities. There are some challenges getting around in China. You can have difficulty paying with foreign credit cards, and some places won't accept cash. I've found that the Alipay app is incredibly useful. You load your credit card into the app, and from there you can pay for just about everything. It also has a built-in travel card for the metro and a built-in DD Car app, which is China's answer to Uber. I use a virtual SIM card for my mobile phone while I'm here. There are many available, but I use Airolo, and so far it's worked perfectly. It also gives me access to all the content I have at home. Next year's Chinese Grand Prix is scheduled to be the second race of the season. It will be even cooler than it is now. That's going to be a massive challenge for teams and drivers. So if you are coming to the race, wrap up warm and bring lots of good wet weather protection. Thank you so much for joining me for this A to Z guide. I really hope that you found it useful and that maybe I'll see you at the race. So until the next one, goodbye.